there are conflicting values. And taken in isolation, each of the values is quite legitimate. So the value of preserving human life, or for that matter, the life of any organism, that is a value that we should accept. You shouldn't just go arbitrarily kill some animal because it's fun to kill it. That's a reasonable value. On the other hand, most people will agree to swat a mosquito. Okay, well, the idea that life should be valued has come into conflict with another value, and we know what that one is. And that's commonly the case. The values that we hold are not absolute. They are always contingent. They conflict. And life is made up of decisions in complicated situations in cases of conflicting values. If you listen to just one in isolation, yeah, it may sound legitimate and maybe is, but you have to ask what it means under particular conditions. So choice is legitimate, preserving life is legitimate, and sometimes they run into conflict.
Well, I think the point is that if what we're talking about is whether abortion is legal or not, is legally available, then it's certainly the poor women who are harmed by the fact that abortion is not legally available, because the wealthy women can generally get an abortion whether it's legally available or not. There will be someone who is properly medically qualified who can do it, and if not, of course, they can travel. It's a global world, they can go somewhere else. We're saying I don't think that the deaths of the fetuses should be regarded as comparable to the deaths of older human beings, but the great tragedy is the tens of thousands of women who die from botched abortions in countries where abortion is illegal.
For example, it is reasonably well, in fact very well established, that as women have more opportunities, more education, as better medical care is available, as more family planning is available, fertility rates go down, abortion goes down, children are better cared for, and women are healthier. Those things are known. And those are all things that are easily under social control and that should not be controversial. I don't think there should be anything controversial about making sure that women can have access to decent, say, obstetric care. Now, that alone would save hundreds of thousands of lives every year. If you want to do things that will help people, there are very easy ways to do it. And that's not just true of women, it's also true of children. UNICEF also reports that, if my memory is correct, that about 15 million children die every year mostly from easily treatable diseases, meaning sometimes things like lack of drinkable water or dehydration, diarrhea, things that can very easily be treated and could be treated for literally pennies a day from the rich countries. Well, okay, if we're serious about saving lives, saving children's lives, there are easy ways to do it. On the other hand, if you look at the same people who are most militant about saving the fetus, are they calling for increasing foreign aid? Are they concerned with the fact that the United States has the most miserable, miserly foreign aid program of any developed country by quite a large margin? The country's got plenty of wealth. The means are easily there. They're just being used. The social policy is being designed to enrich the wealthy even further and let the poor suffer. Let the children die, let them starve, let the mothers die, and so on. That's an overwhelming problem. Once people among people who are willing to address those problems, people are willing to address those problems we can at least take seriously when they talk about values. When you can take people seriously when they talk about values, you can listen to what they say about other things like abortion, which is a hard question. But I don't think we should be interested in discussing it with people whose values are such that they don't care about the massive problem of killing and harming women and children that they could easily deal with and are doing nothing about.
Ultimately, of course, the whole decision is based on questions about what you think makes killing wrong. And I think that's one reason why the philosophical discussion with the general public has not got very far, because people haven't really confronted that issue. They've tried to say, well, the fetus is a human being or the fetus is not a human being, just accepting the premise that killing innocent human beings is always wrong. I think if they'd gone a little bit further and said, well, yes, I mean, in one sense, the fetus obviously is a human being. It's a member of the species Homo sapien, and it's alive. But what are the characteristics that make it particularly wrong to kill a human being? Why do we think that killing a human being is normally wrong? And I think if you start asking those questions, you get to see that it's not just being a member of the species Homo sapiens that makes killing wrong. It's rather the fact that, us, you and me, and anyone else listening here, is a being that has got certain capacities, can think, can want to go on living, is aware of the fact that he or she is living and wants to go on living. And all of those things contribute to why we think that for someone, say, just randomly to shoot people in the street is a terrible thing. But none of that applies to the fetus. The fetus is, well, when most abortions are performed, the fetus is not even conscious, and it's certainly never a being who can think, I want to go on living.
The Bible, like any complex historical text, presents a God who can be called upon to justify mass genocide and who can be called upon to justify mercy to widows and orphans. Same God, depends what parts of the texts you want to interpret.
The conception of God is obviously relevant for those who believe in God, and for many of them their views will flow from that. But it doesn't determine their views, because of course you can have fundamentalist Christians who will believe in God and think that for that reason abortion is wrong, embryo experimentation is wrong, euthanasia is wrong, and so on. And you can have other more liberal Christians who will believe in God but who will think that all of those things can be justified.
Everyone in the debate is opposed to outright infanticide, that is, taking a live child and deciding to kill them because it's too much trouble to take care of them. Everyone agrees on that. Everyone agrees, I suppose, that women are allowed to wash their hands. Although I guess you could make a case if you went over to the biology department that when a woman washes her hands, lots of cells flake off, and some future technology might be able to use the information in those cells to construct a potential child. So somewhere between, say, washing your hands and killing your 3-year-old, somewhere between that, there are decisions to be made about how we're going to balance what we call life, which in fact is there in the cells on your hand, how we're going to balance what we call life against lots of other problems. And those decisions are not simple. People who say, well, I know it's at this number of days, they can't be taken seriously. What we're talking about, ambiguous issues of a complicated kind, where you have to balance conflicting interests and concerns, as is generally the case in human life. You're not going to get the answers from holy texts. You're not going to get the answers from biologists. These are matters of human concern that have to be discussed seriously, reasonably, with attention to the array of differing values often that people have, and different decisions they may come to under similar circumstances.